The wind blew free, nothing stood in its way. The earth opened wide, endless, without walls or fences, and the people, they never tried to stop it. Across the Great Plains, the Lakota, the Blackfeet, the Cheyenne listened to the storm instead of fearing it. They carried their homes like breath light, enough to rise with the dawn, strong enough to stand through the wind. The Tipi was not escape, it was belonging. A house that could move, yet never lost its heart. Because to them, home was not something you built, it was something that breathed like the wind itself. The Great Plains were never still. Buffalo herds, 40 million strong, moved like rivers of fur and thunder. The land itself breathed and shifted with them. To stay was to starve. To move was to live. And so the people followed the rhythm of the earth. Their homes were built not to last, but to rise and vanish with the dawn. Where trees were as rare as rain, they shaped shelter from what life offered, from bone, from hide, from patience. Every trail became a memory, every campsite a quiet harmony between need and grace. They did not fight the emptiness. They listened, and in that listening, they belonged. Their homes moved as fast as the clouds. Within an hour, nothing remained, only grass bent where the circle had been. Wind passed, the land healed, and the people carried everything they owned on 2 horses, on memory, on rhythm. To the Lakota, Cheyenne, and Blackfeet movement was not chaos. It was order. It was how life stayed in tune with the herds, with the sky, with hunger and hope. A tipi could rise and fall in less time than a pot of water could boil, a miracle of balance between strength and simplicity. Each pole, 12 to 15 in number, knew its place. Each hide remembered its stitch. They built not with walls, but with understanding. When the wind called, they answered. Hands untied knots that had held through storms. Children gathered stones from the fire. Ring their mothers rolling up the hides, still warm from last night's fire. The air filled with soft sounds, wood on leather ropes sliding laughter low as breath. It was a song of departure, not loss. Archaeologists would later find the faint circles they left behind, marks pressed into the prairie by generations of rising and leaving. To most eyes, they were only rings of flattened grass. To the people, they were memory. Proof that a home could vanish without ever being gone. Mobility was not escape, it was intelligence. It was how you survived a land that never stood still. They moved lightly, not from weakness, but from wisdom. Because when everything you own can be lifted in an hour, you carry only what truly matters. And when the camp disappeared into the horizon, the earth exhaled whole again as if nothing had ever broken its skin. When the wind came, it did not shatter their homes. It bowed. It sang around them, a storm made soft by wisdom. The cone caught no anger. It only remembered balance. Across the Great Plains, storms could rise without warning. Winds screamed at 70 miles an hour, tearing grass from the earth, flattening trees, scattering dust like smoke. Yet in the center of that violence, the Tipis stood calm, patient, unmoved. Their secret was not defiance, but design. The shape itself, a cone lifted from the memory of mountains, guided the wind not against it, but around it. Smoke flaps at the top, open like wings catching air and channeling its fury upward. What might destroy a wall instead became music. The tipi breathed through the storm, its fabric trembling, but never breaking. When researchers at the University of Wyoming placed replicas in wind tunnels, they found what the ancestors had always known: a structure so balanced it could endure 70 miles per hour without shifting its frame. It was nature's own geometry rediscovered through patience. The angle of the poles, the curve of the hide, the venting of smoke flaps, all tuned to the rhythm of the wind. To live in such a home was to understand surrender, not weakness, but trust. When the storm came, they did not fight it. They listened. And in that listening, they survived. Even now, the wind that moves through the plains still carries their lesson. That strength is not in resisting the world, but in moving with it. They built homes that danced with storms and called it balance. When it rained, their walls tightened as if the buffalo still breathed, guarding its people one more season. Water beaded and slipped down the hide, never soaking through, as though the storm itself showed mercy. Each teepee was born from the buffalo's gift. 12 to 20 hides thick and heavy, stitched together with sinew nature's own thread. The women, skilled and patient, worked for days under open sky, scraping, softening, cutting, then sewing the hides edge to edge. When the seams dried, they shrank, locking tight like a drum. Rain could fall all night, and still the fire inside would burn steady. Smithsonian researchers a century later tested these old designs and found what the people had known all along. When wet, the hides sealed tighter, forming a natural waterproof membrane. No plastic, no canvas, no invention could match it. It was living architecture built from gratitude, not from conquest. To the people of the plains, the buffalo was not merely sustenance. It was shelter spirit and memory. From its bones came tools. From its hide came warmth. From its strength came survival. They took nothing without thanks. Each stitch was a prayer, each finished teepee a covenant between the hunter and the hunted, between the earth and those who listened. When the rain passed, the hides dried in the wind, soft again, breathing once more. The teepee shone under sunlight, a quiet monument to balance. Modern tents may boast of innovation, but the plains tribes lived its essence. What science calls engineering, they simply called harmony, because wisdom like hide tightens in the storm. And when the clouds broke and the fire flickered within, it was not only warmth that remained, but remembrance. At the heart, always fire. Its smoke climbed through the flaps, spiraling into the night toward stars older than memory. Every teepee carried this flame, small, patient, eternal. It was warmth. It was spirit. It was home. Archaeologists still find its trace. Circles of charcoal, lenses of ash, hidden beneath layers of grass and thyme. In Alberta, in Montana, more than 200 rings of earth still hold the blackened hearts of vanished homes. To the modern eye, they are just stains in the soil. But to the earth, they are memory, each one a heartbeat that never stopped. The fire was never only for heat. It was a teacher. Its smoke carried stories to the sky. It connected the people to the stars, each spark a prayer, rising each ember a reminder that warmth begins within. Families gathered around its glow, elders speaking children, listening shadows flickering on hides like ghosts of ancestors. When the wind howled outside, the fire spoke back steady and low, saying, "You are not alone." Even centuries later, the soil still breathes its scent, charcoal fat smoke life. The ashes remain soft dark against pale prairie clay, marking where voices once rose to meet the heavens. Scientists call it residue. The old ones would have called it memory. To them, the fire was the center of the world, the link between earth and sky, between flesh and spirit, between now and always. And though the flames are gone, their warmth still lingers. The land remembers. The stars remember. And when night falls quiet, the wind still carries a faint breath of smoke, as if somewhere the fire still burns. Every door faced the dawn. Every circle a quiet echo of the sky. To live in this shape was to live inside the world's rhythm. The people did not draw plans or blueprints. They followed the sun. Across the plains, more than 300 ancient teepee rings still rest in Alberta and Montana, etched into the earth like silent constellations. Each ring 5 or 6 meters wide, aligned perfectly to the east to meet the first light. To the archaeologists, these are coordinates. To the old ones, they were prayers. Each morning, when the horizon burned, gold light entered the doorway, first touching the fire before the faces. It was ceremony without altar worship, without words. To open your home to the sun was to remember that warmth begins from light, and light begins from faith. The circle was not a choice of shape. It was a choice of truth. In it, no one sat above or behind. every person faced each other, bound by flame, story, and belonging. Children could see their elders' eyes. Voices carried evenly in every direction, a perfect democracy of presence. Modern surveys call it geometry. The tribes called it life. The circle of the Tipi mirrored the circle of the earth, the circle of the seasons, the circle of the stars turning overhead. To step inside was to enter the universe itself, small, complete, eternal. Even now, when archaeologists kneel beside those stone rings, measuring angles, sketching alignments with lasers and drones, the wind still moves through them in the same direction as before, east to west, dawn to dusk. The shape remembers, the earth remembers, and the first light that once entered their homes still finds its way across the same horizon. Between two skins' warmth, not from fire alone but from stillness held between layers of hide. Science calls it insulation. They called it knowing the wind. Inside a well-made teepee, the air did what the people had always understood. It listened. The Museum of the Plains Indian tested it in 1984. When the outside froze at -20, the space within stayed 20 to 25 degrees warmer. No heater, no chimney, just design born from patience. 2 layers of hide, one inner, one outer, trapped a thin breath of air between them. That space, invisible yet alive, held warmth like a secret. The wind passed outside, but inside, the world stayed calm. The hides flexed with pressure, breathing in rhythm with the storm. The air inside never stood still. It moved slow and soft, a living heartbeat around the fire. To the modern engineer, this is physics. To the people of the plains, it was understanding the conversation between breath and cold. They knew that warmth was not something you forced. It was something you invited. The hides spoke to each other, layer to layer, sharing heat like words whispered in trust. At night, frost clung to the outer skin, sparkling like stars under moonlight. But inside, the glow of fire painted gold on the walls, and the air shimmered still, alive, forgiving. The children slept in silence, their breaths joining the slow pulse of the teepee. When morning came, the outer frost melted, the hides dried, and the warmth that lingered was more than heat. It was knowledge, because long before thermometers and tests, they had already mastered what science would rediscover, that warmth, like wisdom, lives in the space between. In every move, they learned humility, to carry only what mattered, and to leave no scar behind. The teepee was not architecture, it was memory made visible. They proved that strength was never in walls, but in the will to rise again after every passing storm. To live light was to live free. Every knot they tied was made to be untied. Every camp they built was meant to vanish without trace. Their wisdom whispered, "Do not hold too tightly. Even the ground beneath your feet is only borrowed." Belonging does not come from owning, it comes from listening. When they left a place, they left it whole. Grass lifted sky, unbroken earth, unscarred. Only a circle of memory remained soft as breath upon the land. They understood what the modern world forgot, that the lighter the home, the freer the soul. And when the wind rose again, they rose with it. The fire fades, the camp is gone. Only circles remain, soft marks of lives that moved with the earth. The grass rises again where they once stood. The wind carries the last smoke to the sky. No ruins, no walls, just silence and the memory of warmth. Because home was never a building. It was a rhythm, a breath shared between earth and spirit. They lived lightly, and in doing so, they stayed eternal. When the dawn returns, light touches the same ground, and the air still remembers their patience. The people are gone, but their way remains a quiet proof that to move with the wind is to never truly disappear.